Hello, Bournemouth fans. Hope you're doing all right and got a smile on your face. The unbeaten run of JT continues in competitive football. Tom Jordan is with me, and we beat Crystal Palace on penalties.
Yep.
What was it, 11-10 in the end or something?
11-10, yeah. I don't know why I'm really excited. I didn't even want to win, really, but brilliant the way it ended, wasn't it? Brilliant.
And that £10 for that stream was worth every penny. So we advanced to the next round, the third round, where we'll be meeting up with Nathan Ake once again. And well, let's go through the teams, because when you saw the announcement at 6:45, it was Begovic, Othorba, Simpson, Kelly, Stacey, Harry Arter, Lewis Cook, Philip Billing, Zamora, Brooks, and Sam Surridge. What do you think of that lineup when you saw it?
I was quite happy with it. I mean, the main surprise was obviously Arter. I mean, I probably didn't think Begovic would play, to be fair. I probably thought Travers would just play again. Obviously, it's not the same thing with a keeper, is it? Like kind of fitness and things like that. But I was delighted to see H, to be fair, because whether he was to go, or you just know what you're going to get from Ariata. You know you're going to get 100%. So I was a bit surprised that Lewis Cook started. Thought he might be rested, but quite like that we were playing with that different system. A few of the youngsters get a chance, like Zamora and Offerball. So I was quite pleased, and I was glad that people like Dan Juma and Stanislas, who we need to wrap up in Cotton Wool, that weren't in the squad. I was pleased with that.
So we've played 3-4-3 for the league fixtures, and also the one against West Ham, where we lifted some silverware. And what was the formation today? Because I couldn't really work it out at first, but you seem to get a grasp of it.
Well, I would say if you had to kind of nail it down, it was probably a 3-5-1-1 with kind of Brooks just off, Surridge kind of roaming through.
Yeah, floating, right.
What's clear is that JT wants that three at the back, doesn't he? I mean, he went with that again, but we probably didn't have the personnel to play that 3-4-3 because we didn't really have any wingers available. Yeah. I mean, I would never say Brooks is a natural winger. So, yeah, just sat in behind Surridge and then had that three-man midfield, and yeah, they looked quite nice. I quite liked it on paper.
And what did you make of the Palace side? Because I must admit, I know a bit of Bournemouth, but I don't really know much about other teams, so it was very difficult. I mean, there are a few names I recognise, such as Hennessy, Kelly, Milivojevic, of course, Batshuayi, Schlupp, and also Eze as well, who Craig Beasley obviously has harped on about on the live free-for-alls, but sadly he chose Palace over us. Was that strong, or was that...
I think they said it was 10 changes. I mean, I can't think of which one stayed in. But I mean, to be fair, Eze, like you said, has been hyped like he's going to be, some sort of special talent. Obviously, Batshuayi, being a Chelsea player, he's a good striker. Hennessy, I think he's always fought for the number one jersey, to be fair. He's an experienced keeper. Schlupp, yeah, so they still have quite an experienced team. But you can see they rested players, we rested players. So you expected them to just have an edge, I would say.
What do you make of Tyndall just naming 6 subs when you could have named 7?
It was bizarre. I mean, I don't really... Because I think we said it beforehand. Well, you can just almost name anyone and just know that you're not going to bring them on, or just put a kid on there. We don't know whether he had someone in mind that then maybe had some sort of kind of felt something in the warm-up and maybe. Or maybe it's a way of saying to the board, look, I need some more bodies here because I want to rest some players and I haven't got the... But nevertheless, I suppose you're only going to bring 3 on anyway. You don't really need 7 in the cup, I suppose.
No, that's right. And we were watching a stream provided by Carabao Cup Live, and we thought, this is great. We got Chris Temple and John Williams commentating, and for the first 5 or 6 minutes, we were loving it. And then all of a sudden, it switched to some bland commentator who was dull as dishwater. And to be fair, his tone matched the game really, because I think whenever Willow and Chris Temple commentate, they're very energetic, even if the match is piss poor. And it was one of them where in the first 5 minutes there wasn't really any pattern, but as it went on, it felt like AFC Bournemouth were controlling a lot of the game, and Blackburn. Crystal Palace. I don't know why, but I keep on saying Blackburn. Crystal Palace. It didn't seem to get a foot on the ball at all, and the possession stats early on showed that.
Yeah, we were, like you say, there was no real big chances. It was not any excitement really, but we controlled the game, which was really impressive considering the young players we had up there. I thought Harry Arter was bossing it in the middle of the park. Everything was kind of going through him. I thought the youngsters looked confident, and the more the game went on, I think some of the fringe players suddenly started thinking, you know what, we're right here, we're more than the match for these lot, and we looked like the team that wanted to go and win it. We just weren't quite creative enough.
Yeah, and that said, Blackburn. I mean, why do I keep saying Blackburn? Why do I keep saying Blackburn? I don't know. I've got Blackburn on the brain today. Crystal. Well, it's because they played like Blackburn, but Crystal Palace. Yeah, they. Yeah, to be fair, they're probably the best team we faced, bar Benfica. I think in our sort of 4 matches that we played or whatever it is. Yeah, but anyway, there was a shot that Begovic saved low to his left when I think Namdi lost the ball at right back, and really should have done better. He got out muscled, and then they forged a chance, and then we forged a chance, which we scored. And let's put this on screen now. Sam Surridge got laid off the ball from Lewis Cook.
Brooks, I think.
Was it?
I think it was Brooks.
Yeah, no, it was, mate. I think I was
Lewis Cook might have done it against Blackburn. I don't know.
How was that?
I
mean, we don't want VAR, do we? We don't want VAR. However, that to me was clear, and even watching from a one-camera stream, it felt as though it was absolutely obvious that Sam was on, and it shows it. And I actually took the screenshot on my laptop, and I probably didn't time it perfectly in terms of the way I paused it, so I could have even probably gone back a couple of frames. There was one where I even got the frame a bit too late, and the ball had clearly left his foot and he was still onside then. There were two Crystal Palace players in the box that were blatantly playing him on. To his credit though, what a finish that was.
Great finish. I really feel for him, because obviously Southampton after lockdown, he scored. I mean, that was offside, but it wasn't him, was it? It was Callum. So I really feel for him. When he puts the ball in the net, it gets ruled out. But it was weird because, like you say, I remember when it got disallowed, I thought, it didn't look offside, but maybe it was. And then you look at it back and thought it clearly wasn't. I think the thing that's frustrating is, like I say, I don't want VAR. I don't like VAR at all. I think most people are the same. It was horrible. And if there's the odd decision that's marginal that don't go your way, you go, human error, what can you do? But that was so blatant,
obvious.
It was untrue, and then you just think, oh come on, what are you getting paid to do if you can't see that?
Yeah.
I mean, it was so far, but none of the players seemed to react.
No,
I suppose there's no point.
Yeah,
but normally you would see people kind of getting really irate, but I suppose it's difficult in the open play. But yeah, like I say, still finished it well, which is something.
I think Palace went on to have a chance where the ball flashed across goal and the person at the far post didn't quite get a foot on it, and then Sam Surridge had another chance where it was just above him. It was across from the left from Zamora, and it just was a bit too high. Now, speaking of the young lads that actually played today, what do you think of them? Because I think Zamora particularly shone. Yeah,
I thought Zamora done really well. We've seen like little bits of him, little cameos in pre-season, but not a whole load, and don't know a lot about him. And I didn't expect him to get chucked in tonight. So credit to JT, and obviously to Zamora, has obviously done enough to get in there. And just thought he looked comfortable. He looked like you don't see you either see when you play that wing back system, kind of fullbacks playing there, or wide midfield. He looks like a natural wing back. He actually looks like that. This system would suit him. He looked comfortable, he looked like he had a bit of pace about him, done the simple things well, liked him. I thought Namdi, to be fair to him, obviously he's a midfielder, he's always been a midfielder. And I think with this new system, JT's obviously saying, if you're going to try and stake a claim in this team, you're going to need to get in that back three. Which is Namdi's probably thought, to be fair, I'm not going to get in that centre midfield. Lewis Cook, Jefferson Lerma, Philip Billing, Dan Gosling. I'm not going to get in there, so I've got more of a chance at the back. And there were times where I thought it was a bit shaky. You said earlier where he lost the ball at one point. Yeah. But he tried to do the right thing, and I think it was a good learning experience for him at the back there. And like I say, quite a tough game to get thrown into. Never played in that position really. So I was happy with them too. And obviously Surridge is still one of the youngsters. Really, it feels like he's a bit of a, because he's probably our second striker now. But I like Sam. I do like him. I feel for him because none of his goals seem to count. But looks quite sharp, and he put a shift in tonight. So I mean, they were the three youngsters. But I mean, Jack Simpson isn't really a youngster. He still feels like a fringe player, and I would like to say I thought he was brilliant tonight, because I think he gets a lot of criticism, and I thought he was superb in the centre of that back three. I thought he was awesome.
And from the young players, we also had a few old timers, and in midfield you had Lewis Cook and Harry Arter. As we say, Harry Arter, it looked like he hadn't been away. And if you're a new supporter, or someone who's neutral that maybe doesn't know about AFC Bournemouth, you wouldn't know which one has been playing regularly or fairly regularly in the Premier League, would you? Because Harry Arter was arguably one of the best players out there. He was pinging the balls left and right, he was sweeping up, he was getting forward, he was playing forward passes. Lewis Cook, I thought, was fairly ineffective in the first half.
Yeah, I thought both Lewis and Phil Billing both improved in the second half, but at half-time definitely I thought Harry Arter just come back in and be our best midfield player straight away. He was receiving it off the centre halves really well. He made it easier for the centre halves because he was always an option to just slide it into him. And I felt as the game went on, Lewis and Billing were then better because Art was just sitting a little bit deeper, conducted it well, but he just, like you said, he just looked like he'd never been away. And how there's not, I mean, maybe I do think he'll probably go, but how there's not a massive queue for him from Championship clubs, because what a player. I mean, and I was chuffed for him.
Conflicting views about Lewis Cook because, sorry, not Lewis Cook, David Brooks, because I got a few texts from different people, and I was chatting to you, and it seems that I was getting messages on WhatsApp saying he looks ineffective. What's he actually done? And then I chatted to you, and you said he was one of our most creative players up top. I can't quite work that out, but what was your opinion on him today? Because obviously, he hasn't played football regularly much. Obviously, he got some minutes for Wales, but in a Bournemouth shirt, that was his first showing. And how do you think he did?
Yeah, I thought he was good. I think people, we're almost in danger of kind of building him up too much. I don't know what we expect from him, because at the end of the day, then, like we said, we didn't have a whole host of chances, but every time we looked like we were going to create something, it come through David Brooks. We just said about the goal that got disallowed, it would have been a David Brooks assist. Everything was coming through him. Every time there was a moment where you wanted to, get off your seat, it was because Brooks had done something. He's definitely not. I was really pleased that he saw out the whole 90 minutes. I think that's a real. I don't think he's done that for God knows how long. And I think that's a really good that he didn't cramp up. Do you know what I mean? That's all positive signs. But I think to expect him to come in with the amount of in and out football he's had and just be, everywhere. And I think JT was really clever in the fact that Brooksy was kind of playing in a free role behind the striker. It meant that he wasn't pinned out wide where a player could man mark him. It also meant he didn't have to do loads of dog work backwards. So he probably didn't have to put that shift in where his legs might have gone. He could just wait until you get the ball and then see what you can do. And there's always a bit of magic in him. And I was pleased with him anyway.
I thought a number of players performed better in the second half, and Lewis Cook was one of them, getting in some nice positions, driving forward that we didn't see much in the first half. And there were times where we were almost trying to walk it in at times, and we just couldn't really get the space to manufacture that final shot. But one of the players that did have a shot was Jack Stacey, who came forward. I think that was when Sam Surridge won the ball in the middle of the park and spread it out wide, and Jack Stacey, he shows his impetus up front by trying to get forward. Falls a chance on his right. It was a good save, but those are really positive signs. And you said that he's something that I didn't know about, the fact that he scored a number of goals for Luton in a particular season. What was that?
Yeah, I vaguely remember when we signed him that they were like, he scores he can get forward and get a few goals from right back, and I thought that was a positive sign. You can see why. It's the engine on him. He's definitely still raw. He's not the finished article. Defensively, I still have a few question marks, but he improves game by game. But he just gets up and back. He was one of the few that played, in the first game. He played again tonight, and he just doesn't stop, and I just really like him. And I felt he'd done everything he could on that chance. Try to put it across the keeper, and
he was sort of running diagonally away from the goal.
He had to stay away.
And
and for him to, that was kind of like you say, second half. He's still making them runs. He's such a good outlet going forward. And I think this is another thing, that this system, he's too offensive to be a fullback. And wing back suits him to the ground.
Yeah, so he was one of the players that made way, and JT showed his intent by bringing on Lerma for Stacey, and he could have put someone like Gavin Kilkenny on, but he obviously wanted to take the game to Palace, and Lerma slotted in a position that I've not seen him in before, but you have.
Well, at first I thought he looked like he was going to come on at that right wing back kind of role, and I know that when he was at I think it was Levante, they said that when they had an injury there, it was either right back or right wing back, and done a job there. But then when he come on, then it looked like they almost shifted off a ball out. It was quite difficult to tell.
That's right.
And Lerma kind of went to a centre half position, which he's capable of doing. And maybe he just thought that with Offerball being one of the younger players, he might still have the legs to get forward down that right potentially. But we were always going to lose something with Stacey coming off and not having someone natural to come on. But we still didn't look. It didn't look like a massive change. We still looked in control of that game, I thought.
For you, does it feel like, I don't know, I've read this on a few texts and stuff, but does it feel like JT is making the changes that we all want? Whereas with Eddie, quite often we never saw the changes, or we saw them too late, or he brought on players, some bizarre choices at times. Because, the other substitutions were Dan Gosling on for Cook, which I think most of us, agreed with, and also Solanke for Arta. Now, obviously, he probably had penalties in mind there as well. But I don't know. It just feels like all of the decisions that he's making at the moment, I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think there's probably a few things in there in terms of today that it was literally, like everyone was saying, it's all about the weekend, and this is a game we probably didn't want. So he's in a win-win in the sense that just go and play, give people a chance, no one's going to moan about it. I think with Eddie, particularly in the last few years, in his own head, I said this to you earlier, he's kind of been, do I go for the cup? Could we have a cup run? I need to focus on the league. So he kind of wouldn't really know, and then he'd end up putting square pegs and round holes, and almost felt he'd almost talk himself out of. I don't even think Eddie knew if he wanted a cup run or to rest.
And
you know, showed sometimes.
A lot of our fans were saying the same thing. I think we've almost been sort of ingrained and trained in the Eddie Howe philosophy, in terms of like the model of let's concentrate on the league, let's basically disregard the cups. I know. We got to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup for 2 seasons in a row, but we had relatively easy runs. But in terms of the FA Cup, Eddie Howe paid lip service to that year on year.
And remember, the Carabao Cup, where we got to quarterfinals, we were in the Championship, which
we're
in now. Do you know what I mean? You can have a bit more of a... But I think as well, it's a difficult one, but I think Eddie, like you say, I think the fans have been exactly the same. I would say last season when we had Cups, it was probably 50-50 on some fans saying, no, we've got to concentrate on the league. Yeah. And other fans saying, nah, let's have a cup run. Whereas tonight, everyone was saying the same. Let's give the youngsters a chance. Doesn't really matter. Bit of a distraction, really. Don't really want this game. But if we have it and we win, brilliant. So I think it was probably in that sense maybe a little bit easier for JT to just play with no fear tonight. But you got to give him credit for him. He chucked players. I would have rested players, but people like, I thought off a board player. I didn't think he'd chuck Zamora, and he never really. No. I don't think he's played in Bruce. I don't think he's ever played Football League. Obviously, Offenball's been out on loan.
Yeah,
that's
right. Wicked, yeah.
I don't think Zamura's ever played. This is the biggest game he's ever played. Just chucking him in against Premier League side. So, you've got to back JT for that. He trusted him.
So it depends, and a lot of people on Twitter are saying, well, the ideal result would be, for us to take him to pens, put in a good performance, but ultimately for Palace to win, because it's a game that we don't really need against Man City. Now, as a result, the fixture against Norwich City is going to be moved. Whether it will still be televised or not, I don't know. There's obviously £100,000 payment for screening that match. Will we get it, or will that fixture... will that TV game, go to someone else? I think they'll still televise it, I hope, and then it'll just be moved to another time. But that sort of messes around with our fixtures. Anyway, we stepped up, and we didn't expect the goal fest that we experienced, did we? No. Absolutely superb penalties. I mean, there were some dodgy ones, including one from AFC Bournemouth, but on the whole, it was a great array of striking talent, wasn't it?
Some really good penalties. I think it was Goslin and Zamora that you thought all a bit. I think Goslin kind of got enough power on it. I think Hennessy got a hand, not a strong enough hand. Zamora's, I think you could see him kind of laughing when he hit it in. He scuffed it into that corner. I didn't think Palace, any of their penalties looked like they were going to miss. No. Begovic didn't get any near, really. I think he touched one at the end, but they were all really good penalties, to be fair, from both sides.
And then it came to Begovic.
And then it came to the keepers. I thought, here we go.
And Begovic...
he just hit it with no real force.
Yeah, I thought...
Fair enough, he's a goalkeeper.
He's got Premier League goal-scoring experience, as we know. He blasted the penalty, and it was they call penalties like an ideal height. That certainly was. And then Hennessy... All he needed to do was caress it into the net, but he absolutely smashed it over the bar. He leant back too much, and I'm not even sure whether it came off the top of the bar or not, whether it just completely cleared it. But that was our reprieve. So then we recycled again. It was David Brooks, much better penalty than the first one he took, top left-hand corner, really well taken. And then, it was Crystal Palace with a penalty and a player that you were like, he never misses. He never misses.
Honestly, I just remember he was one of the, doing the old fantasy Premier League and stuff like that, he was one of the top scoring midfielders, and he's a defensive midfield player. It's because he scored so many penalties last season, and I think he scored a worldie free kick against us as well, actually. He's really good at set pieces. I thought, he's never good. Begovic ain't got near anything, he ain't going to go and save this. But like I've always said, you can always rely on Asmir Begovic. What a keeper. It's good save, to be fair. He went the right way. It wasn't an awful penalty, to be fair. It was quite a good save, but it just went the right way, and it was really good save. So I was really pleased for him, to be fair. I'm really pleased for Begovic.
So performance wise, we've got to be pleased with that, because we dominated possession. Should have scored more. Well, we should have scored more. Sam Surridge's goal should have counted, but I was really pleased with the manner of the performance. Even if it had finished 1-0 and Palace had scraped a goal in the last minute or whatever, because they looked as if they did. I mean, they showed their intent when they brought in on Townsend and Ayew. But they didn't really have that much of an effect on the game. I mean, they had a little bit more in possession, but no clear-cut chances as such. And one of our best chances in the second half was when Namdi skied it. It was I can't remember who put him in. Was it Brooks or someone? I can't remember. He leathered it over the bar, and but apart from that, I thought Jason Tyndall's going to be going home very, very happy tonight, I think. And I think it's a positive thing for momentum ahead of our match against Middlesbrough next weekend, where we should be going for 3 points.
Yeah, and they got, I don't know what their team was or stuff tonight, but Middlesbrough, they got beat in the early kick-off comfortably by Barnsley at home, I think. So, and they lost the opener to Watford, didn't they? So, as much as I think they could be a potentially strong side this season, they haven't started very well, whereas we have, so that's positive. And like I said, I think everything tonight was positive. I mean, at the end of the day, because the goal was disallowed, we haven't scored in the game, but the amount of changes we made, the way we kind of controlled that match, the youngsters have not only got through really good minutes and played well, they've then stepped up and taken really, Zamura's weren't great, but they've stepped up, and scored when they were the penalties that were nearer the end, where they're probably thinking, oh God, I could be the one that lets us down there. Yeah. And they've put them in, and then the goalkeeper that we all think is going to leave, and all Bournemouth fans, if we're real, have lost all confidence in him, has turned into the hero. Which you can't write it really. We've even got a cameo from Harry Arter, back on the Bournemouth pitch. So it ticked all the boxes tonight, and people like Dan Juma, Stanislas, they haven't had to break a sweat tonight. Adam Smith, Steve Cook, Chris Mepham. So it would be very interesting. I know that JT said that Cook and Mepham in particular have kind of not been 100%. They weren't 100% for the Blackburn game. And Simpson coming in tonight playing really well. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it, if he thinks, they've probably given him, a few of them have probably given him headaches that he didn't expect to have. He probably expected, I'll play these lot and I'll bring everyone else back in. But I'm looking at it tonight going, does Stanislas come straight back in, or does it look good with that more players in the middle of the park, Brooksy just behind Solanke? It's a few good headaches for JT tonight.
Yeah, food for thought. Food for thought. Well, we'll bring out the Borough preview later in the week on YouTube, but if you want to go in early, feel free to make the prediction in the comments below about what you think should be the lineup for that game. But also, let us know what you think of the plus points. Who performed today? Which players are giving JT some headaches? Tom, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it, mate. Great win for AFC Bournemouth. We're through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. See you in the next video.